Yeah, so revolutionary greetings, comrades. Welcome to our class where we do, this is a Pan-African reading group or reading club or reading space. We are currently reading the book Defeating Dictators by Dr. George Aiti. So today we are in chapter 4, which is the modus operandi of despotic regimes. And we'll do as usual, somebody read for us the whole part, and then we'll share our thinking about that. And then if time allow, we go to the next part. So permit me to welcome you all, Sister Tapua, Agel Mwash, General Nunaki, Brother Raymond. So yes, feel most welcome. As usual, anybody who is willing to read for us, let me know so that we can start our reading.
I could read, but my reception today is really bad. I'm dropping in and out, so I could start reading, but if I'm dropped out, then someone else to take.
Okay, sister, go ahead. Sister Tapua, welcome back. Or if there's anybody with some stable network can read for us. Raspala, are you able to read for us?
Okay, I'm still cooking my palates, but I don't think I can, sorry.
Okay. Who is in a position to read for us? Sister Tapua, just go ahead. In case you drop, we can continue from there.
All right. The modus operandi of despotic regimes. The quotation starting this chapter is by Russian Premier Vladimir Putin about groups demonstrating for their rights for free assembly as guaranteed by Article 31 of the Russian Constitution. Quotation. If they gathered without sanction, they will be bashed on the head with a club. A softer government position would only embolden them. If the objective is forcing concessions on the powers that be, and if the powers that be do buckle under, then provocations will be endless. They will be staged again and again. Close quotation. In the traditional system, power is vested in the chief or sheikh. Legitimacy as a ruler requires having royal blood or descent from the ancestors, the founders of the community, or for Sheikh Muslims from the Prophet Muhammad. And authority is conferred by a council of elders that represent the people. In a democracy, power is vested in the president or the prime minister. Legitimacy requires an electoral mandate, and authority is conferred by a parliament that represents the people. A dictatorship respects no such basic distinctions. Power is usurped. Legitimacy can be manufactured or purchased, and authority is conferred by the possessions of instruments of coercion. Despots come in three forms: civilian, paramilitary, and military. The military variety tends to be the most vile and vicious. Their general motivation for intervening in politics is often to save their countries, in quotation marks, from some catastrophe. A perceived morass of injustices, rampant corruption, abuse of power, and lack of freedom. Their scale of repression tends to be total, with restrictions on almost every type of freedom, expression, movement, and assembly. Further, the institution of repressions tend to be immediate, with draconian measures frequently issued by fiat or decree. Sorry, I need to scroll up here. To take immediate effect. Next are the paramilitary despots. In this category, the former rebel leaders who either led an insurgency or rose to power on the crest of a popular revolution against an illegitimate tyrannical regime. Of particular significance is how these revolutionary rebels leaders or so-called freedom fighters betrayed the cause of their own revolution. The civilian variety of despots tends to evolve over time. Many in this category took up the reins of power in an already autocratic state, as was the case with Africa's post-colonial leaders. It is hard to argue that they were born despots. They all fought for freedom from colonial rule, but over time, can we scroll up, please? Can we scroll up, please? Hello, I think I'm lost. Okay. Oh, good. Where am I? Okay, thank you. Right. They all fought for freedom from colonial rule, but over time, they succumbed to the trappings of power and evolved or transformed themselves into despots by circumstances or political opportunism. Many despots, including even some military ones, start out as genuine popular heroes.
Sister Tapua? Okay. I'll help Sister Tapua from there as she's trying to fix her microphones. Once she's done, she'll be back with us. Sister Tapua? Okay. Many despots, including even some military ones, start out as genuine popular heroes. They are initially hailed as saviors or heroes amid euphoria and are revered and deified, easily winning popular elections. They are swept into office with huge parliamentary majorities. A vision is set for their country. A vision is set for their countries with a rigid regimen that everyone must follow. But the public adulation eventually goes to these leaders' head, and they succumb to the illusions of grandeur. Advisors whisper praises in their ears that they are the Messiah or the real Muhammad. Then self-immortalization begins. Statues of these leaders are built. Currencies bear their portraits. Their pictures hang in every nook and cranny of their states, and all important monuments are named after them. Every word they utter must be heralded with praise. Turkmenistan's late despot Saparmurat Niyazov, who died in 2006, even named months after himself. Since they are semi-gods, saviors, or fathers of their respective countries, it is sacrilegious to criticize them. Fraudulent conspiracies, assassination plots, national emergencies are constantly invented to deal with critiques and to accumulate more power. On November 13, 2010, President Hugo Chavez of Venezuela claimed that private bankers and insurance firms' bosses were raising money to pay someone to kill him. He says, and I quote, "I have proofs of new conspiracies. I prefer death than to sell myself to this exploitive bourgeoisie." Critics are often labeled colonial stooges, imperialist lackeys, counter-revolutionaries or contras, or agents of foreign saboteurs. With youth parliamentary majority, despots subvert the constitution and grab even more power as their parliaments rubber stamp their legislation. Constitutional term limits have been repealed in Cameroon, Chad, Uganda, and many other countries. In power since 1979 is President José Eduardo dos Santos of Angola. Introduced constitutional changes in 2010 that eliminated presidential elections, so he can stay in office until 2022 without having to face direct presidential election. In addition, enormous power is concentrated in the president's office. It controls all budgets and appoints judges, prosecutors, general, state governors, election commissioners. Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe has taken the similar action. Just remember, this book was written before Mugabe died. Now, despots then ignore with impunity those sanctions of their own constitutions that guarantee individual rights and freedom. Consider sections of the following constitution. For example, the Article 35 in the Republic of China says, citizens of the People's Republic of China enjoy freedom of speech, of press, of assembly, of association, of procession, and of demonstration. Article 20 of the Zimbabwean Constitution says, protection of freedom of expression is assured in Zimbabwean Constitution. Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe once contemptuously dismissed his country's constitution as that dirty piece of paper. In fact, individual rights and freedoms have been proscribed by many post-colonial African leaders who outlawed opposition parties and declared their countries are one-party states and themselves presidents for life. For example, in Myanmar, Obama and China opposition parties are not allowed. In Uganda, political parties are allowed to exist, but a political rally of more than 6 people is illegal. Just imagine that. Just imagine that. Each insidious step taken towards tyranny is defended by the need to achieve some utopian objective or fight some external or imaginary enemy. In Zimbabwe, shortly after independence in 1980, freedom of expression was squelched when Robert Mugabe's government took over the country's newspapers, arguing that or urging that the newspaper owned by the South African Argus Newspapers Group was racially biased. As elsewhere in Africa, each repressive measures was dressed in either anti-colonialist or anti-racist garb. That is the first part of our reading. The second part of our reading will start with the decision-making process. So we will take a bit time to engage members who have joined us, and thank you very much for those who have joined us as we are doing the reading. I feel most welcome and you feel most appreciated. I want us, as what you do usually, is we go through this reading and we allow each member to share what do they think or what are they learning from this, what the author is putting here, and what do they think also about what the author is trying to put in this first part. So if you have something you want to contribute to, if you have something you want to share, if you have something you're learning, point it out. If you have something to point out and discuss, let us know. And then once you're done with each member present, we'll go to the second part of the reading. So thank you very much, and once again, feel most welcome. Anybody want to say something, raise your hand up, please. Anybody want to share something? Let your hand be up so that you can give you space to share something in regards to the text you have read. Anybody? If nobody wants to share anything, we'll go on with our reading and our on and on. Yes, Sister Tapua?
My concern is about how some of the despots start off as heroes and then power gets to their heads, but then continue to use the boogeyman of the white man or colonialists or anything else to suppress the people, so that you end up with initially people not realizing what's going on. And then when they're in the throes of things, then you realize this is what is going on. Because the example of Zimbabwe has been given there because you just kind of slide into situations and one after the other, slowly your power as citizens is eroded and it's all taken by the person who's centralizing the power. It's a terrible thing, especially if it's done by liberation movements. It's sad.
Thank you, sister. I think as anybody want to share their thinking, I think let's underline the following words. That despotic regimes can come in those three forms. One is civilians. So even civilians can be despotic. Second is paramilitary. And the third is military. Now let's look at what they say about the military dictators, because that's where they start with. They say that the military variety tends to be the most vile and vicious. Their general motivation for intervening in politics is often to save their countries from some catastrophe. A perceived morass of injustice, rampant corruption, abuse of power, and lack of freedom. Their scale of repression tend to be total, with restriction on almost every type of freedom, expression, movement, and assembly. Further, they say, the institutions of repression tend to be immediate with draconian measures frequently issued by fiat or decree to take immediate effect. What can you say about that part of military? If anybody want to contribute on that, feel free. On the military part, then you look at the paramilitary as well.
I can. Because what we had after the Mugabe regime was the army intervening for the very reasons that have been put there, because they were claiming they want to save the country. But what's coming after, we now have a situation where the army is now getting involved again to save the country, because they're saying they made a mistake, thinking the person that they'd put into power would be a fairer person. And you start to think, where are we going? I mean, and then on the other hand, you also think, how is this going to be resolved? Because democratic elections have not worked in Zimbabwe. And are we left with the military option? Where do we head after this?
Thank you, Sister Tapua. And let's look at the military intervention currently. In one hand, we have the Burkina Faso and the Sahel region. In the other side, we have Sudan. Those are two almost different military intervention. They're all military. But look at Sudan, for example. What's going on there under the military? Look at Sahel. What's going on there under military? And then there's one thing that the caution that they say that it might start as something that is very good, good spirit, but later on it changed to be very dictatorial. Look, for example, Museveni of Uganda. He comes in as, but not a military. He is falling to the second part of paramilitary, for example. And let's look at even this guy from Rwanda, Kagame.
Yes.
And let's look at so many military aspects. So what we are learning here is that they might come in with good intention, but there's a possibility of them being ruthless or repressive. It's not that that's how they end, but we must be conscious that there's that possibility. There are others who have lived an exceptional life. For example, what Sankara did. Because you can also judge also a military officer probably after he's done with his term. We say that he was a good president once he's done. But as long as they're still serving, you can never know how good or how bad they can be. But you see, this military leadership is also characterized by restriction on freedom. And this is freedom of expression, freedom of movement, and freedom of assembly. Very important for us to note that. That's the first part I want us to look at. But you can just oppose the other parts as well. I want us to look at the second part as well, and then allow us to think of this category. So the second category, they say that the next are paramilitary despots. In this category are former rebel leaders who either led an insurgency or rose to power on the crest of popular revolution against an illegitimate or tyrannical regime. Of particular significance is how these revolutionary or so-called rebel leaders or so-called freedom fighters betray the cause of their own revolution. That is very also important for us to note. And then the third part is the civilian, with the saying, the civilian variety of despot tend to evolve over time. Men in this category took power or took up in reins of power in an already autocratic state, as was the case with the Africa post-colonial leaders. So it is hard to argue that they were born despots. They all fought for freedom from colonial rule, but over time, they succumbed to the trapping of power and evolve or transform themselves into despots by circumstances or political opportunism. Comrades, let's share our thinking on those three categories. Let me start with those who haven't spoken. Sir Windhoek, what can you say about those three categories? Sir Windhoek? Okay. Let me get to the next person. General Anunnaki. General Anunnaki?
Yes, my lord.
Yeah, what can you say about those three categories, comrade? Maybe you can also look at the South African context where you are, but what can you say about those three categories?
Can you just give me these three categories again?
General?
Yeah, I'm asking. Can you give me these three categories again?
The first category has been listed up here is the military category of despots.
Yeah.
The second one is the civilian and paramilitary. And I've described how military come in. Military come in, but over a period of time, they either limit now freedoms. So freedom of expression, movement, and assembly. Of course, they come in the name of trying to save their countries.
Yeah.
But we are told that then further the institution of repression now tend to be immediate. So they start being very, very radical and very dictatorial. And the second category we are told are these paramilitary people who come in to take advantage of the revolution. So they call themselves either the revolutionaries, the rebel leaders, or the freedom fighters. But after a period of time, they betray their own revolution. And the third category is this they call the civilian varieties. And these are people come in, then they either argue that they said that these people might have not been born despots, but as they get into the system, they end up being more of despots. So they succumb to the trappings of power and evolve or being transformed themselves into despot. And they say this can happen by circumstances or political opportunism. What can you say about that?
Yes, keep chance, yeah, for the recap. Yeah, I think as an African revolutionary, you can use either, you can use any of the three to achieve. As long as you're achieving African liberation, that's the main point. How you go about it determines the social milieu there, or the state of the country there, geopolitics and everything. For instance, say in South Africa, the type of governance, which is the democratic, free market, capitalist system. So basically, here in South Africa, they divided us in terms of our ethnicities, so-called races. You have the Indians there, you have the so-called coloreds there, which is a mix of white and black. Then you have the whites there, and then you have the Bantus there, you see. So in this geography of South Africa, it will be very difficult for you to convince everyone of these ethnicities with one language. It will be very difficult. And that is what's happening with the political parties here. They are fighting for the Zulus, they are fighting for the vote of the what, because they have to cater for a specific ethnic group, and you get what I mean. So that's why I'm saying it will depend on the geography of the country. Look at the geography of Burkina Faso. It's just mostly desert there, you see, and there's a lot of minerals underground which are rich. And then Burkina Faso, the government system there, which the French instilled in Burkina Faso, is not as liberal as the one that is here in South Africa. And it is not structured based on ethnicities, because first of all, in Burkina Faso, they do not have colored there. They do not have a group of people who are called colored people. So that's why I'm saying it depends on the type of governance and the social milieu, the geography of the area of the revolution that will determine which will the African revolutionary use in order to obtain revolution. And in this context of Traore, they used military, you see. So that's why I'm saying all three of them can be used. It will depend if you are an African centered or not. That is where we judge you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Tapua. Come in.
What I'm noticing is that any form of government can be despotic. So the warning to us is to just be alert and understand that there's a possibility that whether it be civilian, paramilitary, or military, there's a chance, there's a possibility it could go either way. But then I was asking the question, especially in the African context, where we have tried democracy and we've been undermined and it's been manipulated. In order for us to move away from people who are influencing us and trying to keep us under control, and as Chinua Achebe said, they have one brother. And how are we going to defeat them? So there's an element of the need to use a bit of some power there, which could be perceived as despotic. But like my brother Anunnaki is saying, as long as we are focusing on a goal, this is where we're going. We need to take control of our resources so that they are used for the African people. If in the process, some people get hurt, then it becomes part of the cost. Because I've been in groups where people are posting a lot of, in quotation marks, negative things about what's going on in the Sahel. And the debate has been, do we understand why they're doing it? Are they going in the direction that we want to go? Because they've been statistics coming out about the number of people who died before this period of human rights are being used to try and paint a negative of Traore, but without focusing on, well, people were not dying by guns and all that in large numbers, but they were also dying by poverty and deprivation and so on. So it's this kind of thing that we have to think of and make judgment over. So what I'm saying is, we just need to be aware of the possibility of any of the governments that we have going in the direction of being despotic. But let's focus on what we want to achieve at the end of it all. And we'll get onto any bus as long as it's getting us to where we want to go. I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're raising a very important question. Because this call to attention, they need to monitor revolutions. And we need to be vigilant that it can sometimes not go as people wish. Whether it's military, paramilitary, or even civilian. Irrespective of who or how. But there's possibility of anybody becoming despotic, and I need to monitor that. That's very important as well. Anybody want to share their thinking as well? Please unmute yourself. Anybody? Yes, Awindo?
Mine is just a question. How do we safeguard that our constitutions do not allow office term 10 years? I know there are measures. In most constitutions, it is provided that only 2 5-year terms. Yet, they go on to change the constitutions. How will we be proactive as Africa to make sure and to guarantee that term limits are not tampered with? Because that's what will lead to despotism. The longer you stay in office, the easier you become a quasi-god. So if limits could only go up to 10 years or 8 years, if Africa will be better governed. Because we cannot blame one category of, say, of civilians or paramilitary or military. They are all the same. They come in office. They come in as military, and then after 5 years, they change to civilian rule, and then the civilian term starts from there. That's another 10 years. So 15 in total, and after 15, they change again to the constitution must be changed for them to to go for a longer period. So, for
Can I come
instance, to
in?
guarantee that even if you come in by military takeover, your terms start counting the first moment that you come in office. Something like that. Go on, Sister Rabo. Sorry, I'm finished.
It's all right. Sorry, I interrupted you. I think we need to we need to move away from the states that we have in Africa, because I think despotism will be more difficult if Africa is one country, with the different states focusing on some kind of federal, different kind of organization. Because I find that of the unions that we have around the world, it's very difficult for a despot to maintain their position because of the large numbers of people they need to coerce and to roll into supporting them. It's almost impossible. So I think that could be achieved by possibly Africa being one. And then we're choosing one person who's going to represent the different interests. And it would be difficult for them to be despotic. That's what I think. Thank you.
Can I come back?
The king, go ahead.
Okay, so for me, I'll take it from
The king is speaking.
I'm speaking. Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So I was saying that there has been a precedent set already, which Nkrumah did when Ghana was handed over to him. He actually recommended for one party state that this dual party system of duopoly is always what is killing Africa, that we should stick to one party state to be able to develop the country to what it's supposed to be. Now, if we are talking about despotism and we say, okay, one person is taking a political seat for a very long time and is serving a particular ethnicity, are we then not undermining the progress of the whole nation on its own? I'm asking.
Questions are being thrown. It's very important that when you come in, try to answer any of the questions. Sister Chisomo?
Sorry, I've just come in, so I'm listening at the discussion first, so I can jump in.
Okay, Brother Windhoek, go ahead.
Just to add a little bit to Sister Tapua, she's quite right. But Sister Tapua, remember that we have 2063 to get to that stage of a unified Africa. So for the next 40 years, what are we going to do to keep those constitutions? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody who still want to contribute to this text or respond to any of the questions that have been raised so far, feel free to come in.
I think we don't have to wait until 2063 or 60, whatever it is. We need to be pressuring our governments towards a constitution in each country that's going to make it easy for us to unite. So we could be working towards common things within our constitutions and seeing what things are similar and what things can we work on so that we have a constitution that's going to take us, that's going to be easy to adopt. Otherwise, it's going to be a mission impossible for us to wait until then. Because I think right now, we're always talking about the elders in the African Union supporting one another. We're talking of despots supporting one another. How are we going to deal with that within the context, within these coming years, before the period of time, the date they've set? I think that's where.
Thank you. Nyaya Nunaki?
Yes, my father. I was saying we must remember that in the 90s, which is the 20th century, in Africa, South Africa was the powerhouse. It was the seat of the white people. And Kenya was their hunting lands. And Ghana was their monumental place. That's how they structured it then. But South Africa was their military might of Africa. We must remember that we didn't just have SWAPO and those revolutionary political parties that came up, even ZIPRA there in Zimbabwe. You must also know that those political parties, they didn't just spring up. They were in response to the South African military army that was killing all the black men that were against European rule in Africa, which is the exploitation of minerals and the taking of the land. So you can't avoid military. Whatever we decide, you can never avoid military. And military doesn't only mean offense. There's also military for defense. So the wisest thing we can do right now is, since we are civilians, we can buy gun licenses from our governments and start gun clubs, start teaching our black women and black children how to defend themselves when we as the men are not there at home. Start community watches at night. There's a lot of proactivism we can do in terms of security, because without security, even our assets, our companies, they're at risk. These boys, they're just coming there and shooting everyone up, demanding protection fees. You don't have a security company that you actually made a contract with to protect your business. We don't have a black-based community security institutes. So we are just sitting ducks basically, and that's what in that Russia-Africa summit, that Russia what was that thing, Victory Day? That's what Traore was talking about with Russia, to Russia. Sorry, to Putin, the president of Russia. That we as Africans, it doesn't matter even if we can have our own businesses. If we cannot defend our businesses, we are still cannon fodder for the imperialists. So that's my take. Thank you.
Okay, can somebody read for us this paragraph highlighted with the word many despots? That paragraph alone, then we share thinking as we move to the next reading. Anybody who is willing to read that paragraph, then you can share what you think about it.
Hello, I don't have it on my screen. Where is it? Can we move the screen to where it is?
Brother
Okay.
Bijin,
Yes, Awindok.
can I make one last contribution?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Like General Anunaki has said, maybe CSG can evolve to that level, whereby it will establish, it will become so influential, it will dictate some terms alongside AU For instance, to be able to negotiate with countries and get some youths trained militarily. Because sometimes our national territories are reluctant to train a lot of people because of restraints of budgets. But if we can, for instance, engage voluntary countries that has got maybe excess budget to take up some youth, 10 from Zambia, 10 from Namibia, and 10 from wherever to be trained, for instance, in Libya, as the case was when it had really resources. It will also complement what General Anunnaki has said, that we must acquire guns and get neighborhood training for securities and those things. And also, Sister Tapua made a very critical point that I will take it to the level of saying AU must force the different regimes in Africa to streamline their constitutions with that of the AU. Does the AU have a constitution?
Yes.
I submit.
Thank you. I want us to read this paragraph. Can you see it, Sister Tapua? Many.
No, I can't. It's not on my screen. I can't see it.
Which paragraph, my brother?
These are starting with many despots, including even some military.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got it. Would you like me to read?
Yes, can you read it?
Yes, I can. Right. Many despots, including even some military ones, start out as genuine popular heroes. They are initially hailed as saviors or heroes amid euphoria and are revered and deified. Easily winning popular elections, they are swept into office with huge parliamentary majorities. A vision is set for the countries with a rigid regiment that everyone must follow. But the public adulation eventually goes to their leaders' heads, and they succumb to delusions of grandeur. Advisors whisper praises in their ears that they are the Messiah or the real Muhammad. Then self-immortalization begins. Statues of these leaders are built, currencies bear their portraits, their pictures hang in every nook and cranny of their states, and all important monuments are named after them. Every word they utter must be heralded with praise. Turkmenistan late despot Supamurat Miyazov, who died in 2006, even named months after himself.
Thank you. Let's share what you think about that in the next maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Anybody want to come in?
I can see Zimbabwe in here, particularly because our president's picture hangs everywhere. Everywhere you go, he's looking at you. It's just bad because as the army is trying to curb the current president's powers, we've been listening to what are purported to have been decisions made by the army generals who are saying the president should not be praised for everything, because the president was being praised for opening a bakery as if it was his money that had opened the bakery, tarring roads, everything was attributed to one individual. And they're trying to get the news agencies and the reporters to stop it and just mention that it's public funds that was used to.
Okay. Okay, I'll call names. So when I call your name, feel free to come in and share your input. Sawindock?
It's not one person who's taking money out of their own purse.
Okay, thank you, Sister Tapua. We lost you a bit, but it's okay. Let's get to Sawindock.
Yes, thank you. But it is under my government that these things are done. Roads are tarred, bakeries are opened. Why shouldn't the praise come to me if it is my government? Get voted next time, and then you tell them they should not name them after you. That's just on a lighter note.
Is your government? Is the money also your money?
Come again? Yeah.
It is your government, but is the money your money?
I'm straight.
It's the taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Sawindock, and then I'll go to the next person.
Yeah, like in Namibia, the portrait of Sam Nujoma is everywhere. It's like it's the portrait of Sam Nujoma and then the incumbent. They must be together. If Hage retires, the next one will come find Sam Nuyoma's portrait there. So I don't know whether that is the practice in other countries as well, but that's what's happening in Namibia.
Okay, thank you. Sister Chisomo? Thank you. Sister Chisomo?
Hello, good evening. Yes, so most of the things that Sister Tapua says also happens in my country, and you wonder whether these people collude and discuss these things as to what they should be doing in these places. So in my country, we put up the current president, not the one before. The reason the one before would not appear is because we had to fight to get rid of him. So once you fight to get rid of someone, obviously you're not going to start putting their portrait up. So everybody who came after was now doing the same as the life president was doing, Hastings Kamzubanda. With Hastings, we would put his photos up. I don't know whether I've never seen it in other countries that political parties will have a uniform that bears the face of the president. So we always had Kamzubanda on every single cloth that the women wore, and they had different colors in the same style in the same fabric, but different colors because it was just one party anyway. So it will be, oh, today we're wearing the blue one, we're wearing the red one, we're wearing the green one. So come the next president. No, this one didn't have. I think this one doesn't have his face on it up to this day. I can't remember whether they had it before, but I see them wearing now. It hasn't got anybody's face on it because it's now his son who is running that party, and he hasn't got his face on it. But all the presidents that came after, they put their face on this cloth, on the uniform for that party. So everybody goes around wearing this uniform with somebody's face on it. So you see women wearing these uniforms with the president's face on their chest, on their bum, on their everywhere, and it's just embarrassing. But anyway, so when visitors come in, I'm thinking, what are they thinking when they're seeing these women wearing these uniforms, glorifying the president to that extent? You are worried about him, about people saying, oh, he did this, he did that. You have people literally worshiping somebody to that extent. And then with Kamuzu, it used to be anything that has his face on it. If it's the newspaper, if you're found using that paper, either wrapping chips or something or whatever, you were arrested and in jail. So at the moment, it's just those portraits. So and I've seen other countries using a union flag as well. They'll put a union flag and their flag and playing the union what's it and things like that. We don't do that. In fact, not the union is not discussed at our level. I was surprised somebody posted today a video about Kamuzu talking. Mainly, he was talking about Haile Selassie, that he put together this organization, OAU and stuff, and that's how it came about, blah, blah, blah. And then he also talks about how when they started, they divided into cliques, and then the cliques they started opposing each other, and then Nkrumah happened. Yeah, so they start well. I don't know if they start well. I no longer believe that in my country, that somebody starts well and then they change. They come with the intention to do what they're doing. And then when they get in, they do it worse because they're now working as a group to do whatever they do to us. So
Okay.
no good news.
Thank you. The King Mauli, how is it happening?
Yeah, so for me, I think most of these portraits are done for campaign purposes. You know, most of these people come to power, and when they get to power, they want to still maintain the power. So in a quest to maintain power, they have to still keep their presence in the mind of the people, so that in the next election, the people can vote for them. So the best thing to do, or the best way to go about, is to create the notion that they are the savior who is actually helping to solve the problem, which I think, in a way, we Africans should desist from the hero complex. You know, because the hero complex is what is destroying us. If we have thousands of Traore all over the continent, I don't think there'll be a need for any portraits to be put out there because I want to become the next president again, or I want to be voted for. So these are the things that we should look at from the small, like the campaigning aspect or the marketing aspect of the politician who is actually doing that.
Thank you. Anyone who want to come in again? I'll be moving to the next part of our reading, which will be very brief so that we bring this class to an end in the next 40 minutes. But anybody want to comment on that previous paragraph, feel free before we go. Yeah, Owusu, go ahead. Owusu, go ahead.
I came late, but good evening to you all. As I read this thing, you see, the issue of this messianism, even though, I mean, people have the right to believe everything, but the way we've been taught of this has implanted something in almost all of us, that we are looking for something to worship, you see. So it's something that people are also taking advantage, politicians and other places, that you can easily get people to follow you and worship you, because it's something that has been implanted to us. And how to get rid of that also is very difficult. And I have even written about it somewhere, which is online. But my concern is, can we deal with it? We can't. But then how do we also work with it? So that is my concern. How do we work with it?
Okay,
Can I just come in on that one?
Yeah.
Briefly, before we go to the next reading, please, sister, briefly.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say about this hero. Like I said, in my country, it's so bad. You see these uniforms that they wear. It means every single event, a government event, not party event, but government event that's happening. It doesn't matter at what level. These women will come in their uniform, dance for him and all sorts. And so which means anybody from, if you do not belong to that party, or you don't belong to any party, you can never attend these gatherings because you're from a different party, although it's a government function. So it's gotten that bad, and then you think How does the country unite and make the rest of the people outside the party feel it's our government, it's our president, it's our whatever event? It's become so difficult that it's worse than tribal stuff that's going on at the moment. With the violence is coming from all these different parties fighting to get in and start stealing. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's look at the decision-making process very briefly. Then we will be discussing that as we end our class for today. Anybody who's willing to read for us this part of decision-making process?
I like reading. Yeah, I could read.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Right. Regardless of their stripe, the modus operandi of all despots is strikingly similar. Despite the economic illiteracy, dictators insist on making all important decisions themselves. The decision-making process is closed and centralized, even under the so-called revolutionary regimes that taught consultation with the people, and in countries that have parliaments. In the highly personalized systems, the head of state makes all final decisions with the aid of a tiny cabal of advisors, cronies, and trusted lieutenants. Advisors may be renowned in their own fields of work and brought in to assist the leader. However, they are frequently dismissed or replaced when the need or the whim arises. The leader often creates a coterie of followers with personal loyalty to himself and to the ideology he espouses. Some ex-president Daniel Arap Moi of Kenya Airport after returning from a trip to Ethiopia in 1984. I would like ministers, assistant ministers, and others to sing like a parrot after me. This is how we can progress. Really? For parrots, psychopaths, and followers, it is not dedicated to the despot's ideology, but the expectation of sharing in the spoils of office that keeps them faithful. The spoils must be jealously protected. Rivals are systematically crushed, imprisoned, or exiled. Most of the population does not benefit from the spoils and is subject to repression. Popular participation, as in village meetings in traditional societies, is rare. Where parliaments exist, they merely rubber stamp decisions that have already been taken. In this mode of operation, decision-making is politicized. The test of inclusion is fealty to the leader, ethnicity, and the strength of their conviction regarding his precepts. But since these are difficult to assess, the politics of court intrigue flourishes in such settings. Conspiracies, rumors, intense jostling for positions, plots, purges, and reshuffling become the defining characteristics of despotic regimes. Insecurity breeds a craving for support and drives all the strongmen to place a premium on trust. Thus, the bulk of key positions in the political bureaucrat, police, and military establishments are filled with personal, loyal individuals, brothers and cousins,
friends and classmates, kinsmen and tribesmen. Colonel Gaddafi's main support was the elite security brigades that were designed to ward off a coup by army conscripts. One of his sons, Kamis, led the 32nd Brigade, which was Tripoli's main defense. In Yemen, Ahmed Ali Saleh, the son of the dictator Abdullah Saleh, is in charge of the Republican Guard, the best trained and equipped unit. In general, the mode of operandi of despotic regime is designed to achieve three fundamental objectives. One, secure and nurture a support base to carry out their vision. Two, seek legitimacy. Three, maintain social control.
Thank you. We will stop there. And for the next almost 25 minutes, we'll be discussing what you've read. And the next time we will start from the support base. So feel free to come in. If you want to share your thinking, kindly raise your hand so that we can give you an opportunity to share what you think or what are you learning from this or what do you have to say about this text. Remember, this is a class where we study the book written by Dr. George Ayittey called Defeating Dictators. And at this particular chapter 4, we are discussing about the modus operandi of despots. And this is for us to understand what we are fighting in the continent and how we go about it in order for us to attain the liberation of Africa, as indeed today marks the Africa Liberation Day. So thank you very much, comrades. Anybody want to go first? Please let your hand be up so that you can be given opportunity to share what you want to share with us.
Could you kindly scroll to the beginning of the section, please?
Okay. I'm there, sister.
Thank you. I think for me, it's just a reflection of what we are experiencing in our own country. Because we've had people removed from positions and next of kin placed in positions. We now have our president's son being one of the security guys who runs in front of the, he's everywhere. He's an army general. He will be there to protect him. And they've now started, because they're feeling so insecure, to hire outside security headed by him to protect the leader. It's just bad. It's everything that dictators, despots will do that we're experiencing here. It's sad. Anyway, I think I see a pattern there as well, because you get examples from Arab Moi in Kenya, to Uganda's Museveni appointing his own son, and so on, because they're insecure. Anyway.
Okay.
Brother the King, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to. So the question is are we classifying Gaddafi as a despot?
That is the King.
Yeah.
That is what the author is saying based on his own assertion, and you as a conscious person can also provide your thinking based on your own assertion. But again, it depends on what are the modalities of classifying one as a dictator. As we've said, they can either be military, paramilitary, or they can be actually civilians. And you say what they do most of the time either repress freedom of movement, speech, association, and the rest. But maybe if you can comment to this text at that particular moment where Gaddafi is being mentioned, what do you think about that? Whether is it right or wrong? Because here it's being mentioned as having appointed his son to lead the top brigade of the country. What do you think about that?
Well, for me, if his son qualifies to be the top brigade based on his own merits, why not?
So the question is, Brother King, so you don't have
Yeah.
problem with the son of Museveni in Tanzania being the head of military and the son
No.
of Kagame being the head of the SO, which means you don't have a problem of the president appointing his wife to be the speaker of a country assembly or the parliament.
It now depends on, as in whether they are really serving the interests of the nation.
So do you expect that? Do you expect
I,
it to happen?
I do not, honestly. It is a dicey one, a very dicey one for that matter. A very dicey one. So I do not expect that.
Go ahead to share your thinking, Brother the King. Sorry for that.
So what I'm thinking is, with what President Gaddafi was doing for his country, obviously sometimes it gets to a situation where if a country is designed within a certain structure, and that structure is what the country has agreed to work with, and you cannot find loyal people who can actually guide, because everybody is looking for power, as in whether they will use the power for the wrong thing or the good thing, that is also another issue altogether. So if he was really serving properly in the interest of the people and he's following the book, then there is no issue with that. But if for them, another issue is he's just trying to keep himself in power and not following the structure of the ruling country, then that is another issue, which is a bit dicey when we want to really look at it in this situation. Because at the time, look at what happened to Nkrumah. Nkrumah thought he had all his people, on the same page, who rallying for what? The bigger picture for the unification of Africa, only for the people to be used against him. So if you find yourself in a situation like that, will you put your loyalists in position to help achieve the positive goal you want for the people, or you will keep it, you will wait till you become like a victim to this coup d'etat? That is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're raising a very important element as well in terms of the security of the leaders and whether they can survive or not survive. But yes, Brother Bernard Osu, share your thinking.
Okay. Yeah, I will come in from this direction. I mean, you see, what I have observed and have even studied is that most of our countries, if not all of them, we don't have any kind of long-term plan for the country. In fact, we depend mainly on some kind of, manifesto presented by a party, whether it's for one province or for the whole country. Sometimes you can't even understand. And these kind of practices, which have been there since independence of those early countries that gained independence, hasn't changed to date. That even South Africa, that I had respected so much when I came here, doesn't have any national plan. The NDP they brought, it doesn't actually even whether it is workable. So in that case, sometimes when we are talking about these dictators and the rest, you'll find that we are torn between two things. Today in South Africa, we have a very democratic president who maybe you can stand and insult him and he will not do anything, he will not say anything. But then we say he is bad. And then you have somebody also that is very firm and make sure that everybody comply. And therefore you have projects being done, things being done that way. And yet we say that maybe that person is a dictator. And I think we come with all this criticism because we don't actually having said what as a country, each country we want, where we want to reach and how we are going there. Whether it will take a political party or it will take something else. Actually, personally, I haven't find that. And maybe if there's any country doing that, I would like to know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The last speaker has just said what I was going to say. In terms of security, I agree with the speaker before. Because at the end of the day, given what's happening these days and how our leaders die and how they are killed, it's through the people around us. So having somebody from your family or whatever will kind of help in that way, because they will monitor, unless the family member also colludes with these people to do harm to you. And in terms of long-term plans, like the last speaker is saying, I find it's the way we adopted these systems from the Western arrangement. Because if in the UK, if people are not happy with their leader, not even people, because they don't elect a head of state. It's the party that decides who is going to lead. We just elect a party. So we'll say a certain party has to come in, whether it's the Conservative or the Labour Party, but they will have chosen who is going to lead. So if people are happy with the person they said they're going to lead, maybe they will have more votes like that, like they did with Boris Johnson. People wanted Boris Johnson so bad. So although the rest of the establishment was saying he's a liar, he's a this, but because it was Boris Johnson, even people from other parties voted for Conservative to have Boris as the Prime Minister. But when Boris Johnson, the party, because the party never wanted Boris Johnson, so the party still doesn't want Boris Johnson. So they're creating all these stories and blah, blah, blah. Fortunately, they don't poison each other like we do. All they do is then just themselves, the party, will vote him out. Not because we don't want him or we want him. That's irrelevant to them. The party will decide we are changing. Oh, vote of no confidence, vote of no confidence. But at the same time, the Conservative is still in government. So they'll keep changing their leaders. Once they realize this leader is going to lose us votes, they change quickly, put another one, put another one, put another one. So it continues, which is the same pattern that they have in South Africa. That's why they've got ANC since from time began. They just change and change and change and change within. But the rest of us don't have that system. We have to wait for the end of the elections to change presidents. And we are the ones who change the president, right? So because of what the last brother has just said, we don't know what we want. So we will say, oh, this one is too harsh, this one is this one is that. Let's get rid of him. And then we take another one that's, you know, the different one. And then we're not happy as well, because things are now not happening as they were with the one we thought was a dictator. Things are not happening. Like in my country now, the one we have now was a pastor and whatever, and people fell for that. And the guy can't even run anything. Now they're saying, oh, we want the one we had, the one before, we want the one we had before, and they're forcing the one before to come back. So he's just coming back because people want him. As to whether he's going to make any difference or even perform, because he's just coming to please people. Whether he's going to finish the term, we don't know. I doubt it. But then if he's not finishing the term, he has to find somebody who is going to replace him within the term. And that's the vice president. It can only be the vice president. So, and then usually the vice president and the president don't work together. It never works. So, yeah, so it becomes difficult to leave it to the people. Or, so I think if we had the South African and the UK government type of except that it will be the same party running forever, because they're very clever at changing their whatever. But when people fall out like that, that's why people put in their own. In a system like ours, they'll put in their family, a member of family at the embassy, at the army, at the whatever, My president will not visit. He never stayed in the State House. He was suspicious. So he never lived in the State House until whatever. He never went into his office. just in case there's something in there. So I don't know whether he was working from his home or whatever. And also our system, the president doesn't go to parliament. I don't know what they do when they're not going to parliament. That's why he's always traveling, because I suppose he's got nothing else to do. Yeah, so security-wise, especially in my country, people will kill you. Even me, they'll tell me, don't leave your drink with somebody else. Don't do this. Don't eat other people's food. Don't do this. Don't do that. And my president, when he went to visit when he took power and he went to visit the previous president, for whatever reason, he decided to go and visit him at his house. He brought his own chair. And he goes everywhere with his wife. And I'm thinking, how is somebody entitled to take his wife to work?
Sister,
And we have to pay for it. He travels everywhere with her, whether they are coming to parliament, the wife will be there,
okay.
whether they're going. So that maybe it's for security reasons. I don't know.
Sister Chisomo. Hello, can you hear me? Sister Chisomo?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now you've lived in the West. Do
Sorry?
you think you are living in the West and you're living in the West?
Yeah.
Do you think the security of Boris Johnson was his son? Or the
security of who?
Boris Johnson
Mm.
was his son? Or the head of military in America currently is the son or the daughter of Trump? And why is
No,
it?
they were not. Remember, I did mention that they don't do to each other like we do to each other.
Why? The question is now why? Why our leaders need their sons and daughters to be their security and head of government?
Because you will topple me. You will collude with others to topple me for no reason.
For no reason.
For no reason, literally for no reason, just because you want power. Everybody wants to be the president. Everybody wants his party to be in power.
Okay.
So they'll do harm to each other. They've just killed our vice president. So he doesn't take over this term.
Okay, let's get to Sawindok. Samantha are up, Jay Haile, and is also up. So Sawindok and then Jay Haile.
Security is very critical, and one can seriously not draw a line between family members and cronies appointed to extend my term in office or for merely the security and safety of the president. Just imagine people colluding to kill Kwame Nkrumah. People speaking, Kwame Nkrumah has ordered the killing of who, and who's safe as a president? I think as a head of state, you are never safe, and your security must really be beefed up, whether you are doing a good job. Here they are talking about Traore. Not everybody is talking good about Traore while he's trying.
Sawindok.
Yes.
Find out to me if the two men who are always behind Traore is either his son, his brother, his father, or his whatever relative. Please just find out for me. I'm very interested in that. And also find out for me the current countries, for example, go even out. How many people have their brothers, sons, or uncles as their security or in charge of the security of their countries? Because there's something very important here. When we try to make this as an excuse of insecurity, does it mean only African leaders are insecure? Does it mean that only African leaders can the one who be toppled down? And if that is the case, why? So we should not hide to actually accept the virtue that now Museveni can appoint his head of military just because he's insecure that he will be removed. And if he's insecure, why? So this is very important for us to have a very objective conversation as well. But yes, I don't actually undermine the essence of security. But yes, go ahead, Sawindok. Sorry for interrupting.
You know, in Africa, we have two enemies at the same time. We have ourselves as our own enemy, and then we have the West as our enemy. Unlike in the West, they only have themselves as their enemy. We don't play a role to be their enemy, as in America or Britain. That's where the difference comes in. Britain, America want to make sure that the presidents of Africa are their presidents. And if it is presidents working in their interest, then they conspire to kill those presidents. While us, the locals, also have a problem with our own presidents because we want to be the presidents ourselves and we want our party to be the leading parties. That's how dangerous the situation in Africa is. It's double it's what that they call double jeopardy.
Can I
rest
come
there.
back?
But
No,
I have taken your task.
I'll not allow you to come back until I go through the hands that are here.
Okay.
Yes. So, Windok, are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. G. Haile, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Like I said on my chat, on the chats, I came a bit late, so I was trying to figure out exactly how this conversation was being conducted, and I think I got a drift of it now. My view is quite generic, I must say. I think what is happening in the power structure in our continent, in many countries, is a very big structure that misses the biggest point altogether, and which is the empowerment of people and also the functionality of systems. And usually when you try to link these two together, you have this agenda where you have to build a nation, you have to build your people, you have to build a system that people can trust and that can help increase and improve and also implement accountability. We don't have any of that in many of our countries. As a starter, we are just copying and occupying what colonial structures that were already in place. So we haven't changed anything. Even at the point of independence, no country in Africa, I don't know, maybe countries like Eritrea or something, I don't know, but countries just inherited the system as is. So they went from one form of external domination to another form of external domination. So therefore, all the political parties we have and all those entities that want to go into power are just private clubs, really. The political parties we call are private clubs. The main support group comes from either ethnically driven or class-driven, parts of society. And so therefore their legitimacy is really neither here or there, but they're there. They have come up with laws, they have copied exactly what was there and have also adopted more Western views to a point where we even think being a dictator is bad. It is only bad if you see it from the Western philosophy perspective, and if you also see it from what we have been taught in schools to be or to mean democracy. So basically, contextualizing a governance system or a system that governs a nation to the nation's history and to the nation's reality and to the capabilities, the human resource capabilities that the nation has and the systems that it has created to benefit itself, to benefit its own agenda, to benefit the nation's interest and well-being. All these are not there. So what we're talking about really is just these little fiefdoms that come with the blessing of the power, which is usually external power, that controls our destinies. So it's all a circus in a sense that, you are there in power supported by X external power or Z external power. And you are there, you are there to eat. You're not really there to do anything also. This 5-year terms, these, 2 terms, these things are all just structures that were just brought in without contextualizing to the reality of the country, to the culture, to the history, to everything that matters for any given country. Even as countries, remember, we were created just by drawing lines by the whims of others and not necessarily an integrated historical linkage to what we have in our ancient civilizations and in our previous administrations. So, as artificial as our states are, the system is also just as artificial. So the whole point of being in power is to eat, and so therefore you will kill, maim, or destroy in order to kill, and then in the end you fall on what you have all been discussing about now. You bring in your wife, your son, your sister, or whatever, to be your security chiefs, to be your army chiefs, to be people that protect you. And all of a sudden, you see all these kinds of crazy things being done in the name of protecting the president or protecting the ruler. So this is just a club. And so therefore, it's not systemic. There is no accountability in the system. There are no people or members of community that are geared in that way. All of us are highly educated. We run at our own personal benefit. Some try to become revolutionaries in an activist way, which is a very Western-based, mode of struggle. We meet, we talk, we have conventions, we have conferences, and we talk more, and then we talk again. Still no result. Still no change. Still the continent keeps bleeding, because the need on the continent is not our progress, is not our systems development, it's not the well-being of our people, it's the resources that are there that somebody wants. So even as African scholars, as African revolutionaries, as Africans who try to be conscious of our reality, I don't think we have yet struck that point where what are the real actions required for change? And where are the real change points? If we continue to consider elections as democratic processes, if we continue to educate our children and ourselves in the kind of school curriculums that we go through, in the way that we uphold and also protect tribalism, we will just not get anywhere. So I think we haven't learned enough from each other. I see maybe a new change, which is based on national interest, which is based on the liberation of a nation, a system, an economy, like in some of the West African countries, but also somebody or a country like Eritrea a long time, but it has been demonized, it has been isolated, it has been sanctioned, it has been silenced, it has been. So everybody and anybody in Africa, if you ask anything about Eritrea, they'll tell you there's a dictator there, which is not completely true, at all. But it is one country that has decided to take its own destiny and be able to practice real independence. But it has been sabotaged by its neighbors, it has been sabotaged by the international community, by the regional powers. Everybody is not happy with this country because this country is going to show other African countries a way to liberate themselves. So we are all in the business of cutting, killing, shortening people's lives, and we are in the business of not really addressing our real core issues. So let me end with that and listen to what conversation will take us to. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Comrade Haile. Out of your conversation, I ended up recognizing you. Thank you. Thank you for making time to be with us also today and for sharing your thoughts with us. Indeed, Eritrea has been a silent conversation in the continent, and many people even do not know about it, but it can qualify to be one of the countries in the continent we can say is liberated for the longest time possible. Eritrea doesn't owe anyone any debt, either IMF or anything else. It doesn't borrow out there. It depends on its own resources to build its own services. But who talk about them? That's the question. So thank you very much for joining us. Of course, some of the few issues of despotism we have learned before, that they also existed even in our traditional society. It's not something new. but they also had a way on how we could deal with those despots. Those are things we've also come across before. We are having actually 7 minutes to go, and therefore I might give members who haven't spoken at least a minute each. Then I come back to members who have spoken before for their final thoughts as well. So I'm seeing some members who haven't shared their thinking on this. Somebody called Brandford Kwasei. Please, comrade, unmute yourself so that you share with us what you think, if you have something to share with us. Kwasei. Kwasei. For the last time, Brandford Kwasei. If you have anything to share with us, please unmute yourself and go ahead. If you don't, we'll assume you don't have anything to share for now.
Yeah, I'm trying to send a message to the platform, so can you give me a small time? I'll post something. In fact, what I have is actually about our African leaders being despots. And I think I share the idea that we have to be very careful with who we mention as a despot or a dictator. If the system, whether it is military, civilian, or paramilitary, is about providing for the larger masses of our people, it's about giving that inclusiveness in governance, in the economic activity of the country to the masses, the people. Whether the person is a dictator or not is no longer the question. I was trying to talk about Singapore with Lee Kuan Yew, who abolished all the parties and made the country a one-party state, and was able just to lead the country to a first world country. How did he do that? Is Lee Kuan Yew a despot? Is he a dictator? Yes, somebody will say Lee Kuan Yew was a dictator, but he achieved his vision, meaning that the aim of Lee Kuan Yew is Singapore, not he himself. So, I mean, I'm thinking that despotic or being undemocratic or dictator should rather be defined in a different context. If an African leader or a leader is just for himself, his family, his clan, his tribe, we can easily identify that leader to be a despot. But if the leader is rather closing all avenues of greed and then focusing on the country, building the country, making sure the masses, the many poor people, the many vulnerable people are rather having access to be part of the governance of the country. I think that definition should not be applied to such a person. But this is a situation that we are looking at the definition from the perspective of what has been designed for us as democratic by the Western world. So we take it that that is what we have to use to define the situation as we find ourselves. So let's look at the definition very well. I'm thinking seriously that let's look at the leadership that we have in Africa. In reality, most of our people, either they don't understand how they can easily change the system that they come to meet to rather reflect the inclusiveness of the masses. Hence, I wish that even if we have a military coup, which will be the reset, which will be the turning point, the point that mechanisms, the political system will be changed for the inclusiveness of the masses or for the social protection to be made available for everybody. I think that I will like it, or I will rather support it as the reset for whatever that we need to change into. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are having only 2 minutes. Sister Tapo, you will have a minute. And I think Sister Chisom also had something to say in a minute. So, Sister Tapo?
May you kindly go back to the 3 highlighted statements at the end of that chapter, please? That's what I wanted to speak to. In the meantime, when you're going there, maybe Sister Chisomo can speak.
Okay,
Because
Sister.
I need those. I need the last 3, the summary at the end of that chapter, please, section.
You want me to start?
Sister,
Yes,
go
please.
ahead.
Yeah. Oh God, no, I've forgotten what I was going to say. Anyway, you recently the new president in Namibia has been talking to is it Zimbabwe and Botswana, and people are saying, oh, she has joined Traore, blah blah, in the decision making, the decisions she's making, and the Botswana one then made a comment to say, they were also saying, oh, he has also joined Traore and things like that, because of the statements he keeps making. So his other comment was that with Traore, it's working because he just wakes up and says, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, and it happens. And when he says it, the people he's saying to listen, and it happens. But when we tell our people, this must happen, they don't listen. And if you try to force them or to whatever, you become a dictator. You are not good, you're not that. If he wants to start an initiative, it has to go through this protocol, that protocol, this protocol, someone will sit on it. Before you know it, it's 2 years, the thing hasn't started yet. People start complaining. Then you've got 2 years to go, and people will put you out because you never did what you promised. So it's those little kind of things. And in terms of security, when it comes to here, these people are highly trained and they've got the resources to protect their person.
Okay.
And if you, for whatever reason, are suspected of whatever, or you did a glitch somewhere, it's a disciplinary issue, your job might end, you might be replaced by somebody, and whatnot and whatnot. And if we look at the way the assassinations have taken place in the West, it's from a distance. The Trump one, somebody was on the roof to try and get to him, that far. Whereas with us, it's your drink. Your juice has got something in it. Your food has got something in it.
Okay.
Do you see? So with us, even me as an ordinary person, I can't just eat anybody's food. I can't just, do you see what I mean? It's that dangerous. So what of a president? So he has to keep his guard so closely, or how much ever it takes. Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Tapua, bring this to an end for us.
Right, thank you. The last section I'm referring to reads, in general, the mode of operation of despotic regimes is designed to achieve 3 fundamental objectives. I think I'm agreeing with the brother who said we are maybe looking at things from a Western perspective. Because despotic is despotic from their point of view, from their social milieu. Because if you look at the numbers 1 to 3 there, if a despotic ruler aim is to secure and nurture a support base to carry out their vision, what we should question is, what is their vision? Because then they have to choose an appropriate methodology to achieve that vision based on the context. In the African context, like what my brother has been saying, Sebwindu, we have two challenges. We have the West trying to make us behave the way they want, and then we have other people who are willing to be puppets to the West to replace you so that you can, they can also eat. That becomes a problem. So if we're looking at the 3 points there, if a leader does something to secure and nurture a support base to carry out their vision, is it wrong? If they seek legitimacy, is it wrong? If they maintain social control, is it wrong? Because if we want to consider leadership, this is what leadership is about. Leadership is about securing and nurturing a support base to carry out your vision. You can't be a leader unless you can carry out your vision. You can't be a leader unless you can seek legitimacy. And you can't be a leader unless you can maintain control. So, in conclusion, I think we should say that we need to rethink what is despotic in our situation, because the West's definition of despotic will not allow us to achieve our goals because of our social milieu. Thank you. I'll stop there.
Thank you, comrades. I want to appreciate the level of engagement we have, and it shows also the level of consciousness we as people are. As I've said, we interact with this text. It's not our Bible, but we go around to ask you to share your thinking so that you can also say what you think, because we believe that every individual has the ability to make a thinking, and no one is a custodian of our thinking. And any contribution that has been made here is right in its own way, because somebody is sharing their thinking. That's different than their understanding, but it's their thinking. So we really appreciate this, and let's look forward to discuss more about this.
Can I just say something? There is a lot of comments in the what's it? That are not being addressed. Somebody's got a long statement there. And somebody, yeah. And somebody says, can you have a translation in French? I don't know, to have subtitles in French so they can also contribute, or maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know whether these Zoom systems have subtitles for other languages. I don't know how these things work.
Yeah, I knew that, but I think it's possible. We'll have to factor that as we move along, because I think it's possible for us to have a caption in French, but I don't know if it really takes it to French directly, but you've used it once. So, like now I've activated CC, which is a caption, and I think it takes it to French. So yes, we'll note that for the next time, so that us who might not be
and
able.
maybe the YouTube channels as well, you have your
Yeah.
French there.
No, when the caption is covered, then anybody who listen to this can read the caption in French. Yes.
And there's this long message here. I don't know if you want to.
I don't know which message are you referring to?
In the chat.
Oh, but he has shared his thinking with us about Lee Kuan Yew. I think that's what Brother Tays shared with us. But yeah, so we'll have to discuss this as we move along. Anyway, people are free to share their thinking as they wish, but we will have to bring this to an end now. We started almost 15 minutes late, and we hope that if members can come in advance, we can be able to start earlier. As I was saying, our purpose is just to read the books and discuss together.
And also, if we had a WhatsApp group, because this book, I find it very thought-provoking. We could, because once we've left the meeting, then you start thinking, If there was a WhatsApp group, I could throw that in. But there is continue discussing.
We have the WhatsApp library. Actually, this book came out of the Pan-African CSG library that we had. on our WhatsApp page. So we actually changed that when we moved to our library, moving to Telegram, as some of you might know or not know, that we are currently having a library in Telegram for the CSG Pan-African Library. We actually ended up by making that WhatsApp group be a reading and discuss. It's actually a discussion room, but you haven't been active enough using that room for discussion. Those of you
But
might
they don't know that they're not taking part in this book, so it will be difficult discussing with people.
No, it's open for discussion. For members who take part in this group are okay to extend the discussion in that Pan-African Library, because it's the only space we can do discussion on the books. Just that, of course, since we switched not sharing books in that library and decided now to share the books in Telegram, I think many people then became very inactive and silent. But yes, I think it's something we can revive. I can reshare a message to that group to inform them that this is the book we are reading on our...
Sister Chisom is tech.
Hello?
Yes, I think I was trying to explain to Sister Chisomo that we will revive that library to be a library where we can be sharing our discussion for the books that we are reading, because once we finish this book, we may take another book, you see. So that library will be a space where we can be able to further the discussion. In the same way we have the CSG library, CSG Consciousness Study Group, WhatsApp group, that is only meant to further discussions of what we read on Thursdays. So we will also have this as an open conversation to further the discussions of what we read on Sundays. But as it must be known, this reading club is not purely a CSG project, but rather a project of myself alongside some few people who thought we should have a reading on Sunday. But it's not purely a CSG project.
You mean this one today?
Yeah, this one today.
Right.
So I just felt that we should create just a room for reading some of the books we discuss, but it's not a purely CSG direct project. So CSG is only giving us a space to do this reading to those who want to further the discussions of the book we have been sharing on the library.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a really good book. And
Yeah.
since the library moved to Telegraph, I rarely remember to go there, I must confess.
Okay, so comrades, I've shared the link to the Telegram again to those who might want to get to the Telegram. So far
Can
we
we
have,
share it in other groups?
yeah, we have 7,008 books, 7,008 books that have been able to share in that library for the last, in the Telegram for the last 1 month, but the books you have collected for the last 5 months, 7,000 books. Those are books written by Africans about Africa or by Black authors or African authors. So I think that's a space where we can get any book we want, including this book and other books are available there.
So we can share the link.
Yes.
Can we share the books?
Now, it's an open space for all Pan-Africans who want to join. And when you get to the Telegram, the good thing is just search the title of the book. Even if it was shared before you came in, you'll find it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Because the 2 books I had requested were being asked for in another group. So I was going to go back to say it's now available in this library, but how do they access it? Do I share it with them or do I bring them, give them the link?
Share the link to the Telegram with them.
So they can come to Telegram.
Yeah, but also remind them of our reading club we have this Sunday so that they can join and also have the conversation. For those who are able, of course, you can read the books at your own time. But I think if you're able also to come in and share the discussions of how we read and share our thinking, is also more helpful than just reading for the purpose of consuming knowledge. So you hear different opinions, you hear somebody who educates you in one way or the other, and that's the beauty of these discussions and reading. Yeah, so...
Yeah, because otherwise we'd never read the books, would we? So at least we're reading them now.
Yeah. So, comrades, thank you very much, and permit me to end our recording at this particular moment, and our meeting at this particular moment as well.